Hello my friends and welcome to this walkthrough of the Textguides, the Desert Open Tournament with Mr. RJ TV. Hello buddy. Welcome. 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 We're off to a good start. I'm very happy to have you here. How are you doing today, my friend?
I'm doing great. How are you doing, buddy?
I'm good. I'm very good, actually. So I'm very excited to go through the Desert Open tournament here, the Textguides for it. We do have 5 new holes to play, a full 9 of the Oasis. First, I want to just make clear that if you want to save down the Textguides to your computer, or if you want to print them out or something like that, check out the video description. You will find the link to the Imgur file where you can get the Textguides. Also, if you want to participate in any of the tournament chats, then you can make a comment on the post in Golf Clash United on Facebook. Then you will be added to that messenger chat with a lot of people, great knowledge, sharing shots, sharing scorecards, but just the most important part, having a lot of fun. So both me and RJ, we're going to stream our rounds, and we're going to be cover basically what basically every division when it comes to the tournament. There is of course a lot of other streamers out there, so check them all. The more streams we're getting, the more content we're getting, the better it will be for the community. So we're going to start off with hole number 1, par 5. I really want to hear, do we go straight, do we go right, how do we play this one?
Well, I really like the black line, but I love the way you opened up the video by saying check out the other content creators, because I have 2 ways I want to tell you about this hole. The first way is the way I've always done it, and the second is from one of my favorite content creators. The first way is just take the extra mile, bring a marlin, knock down that wind just a little bit, aim that ball right up in the corner over there where that first black box is, full top spin. Generally with like an extra mile 5 will ensure that you don't run off of the green there into the rough. And then you could bring your Viper for you on the second shot. Just remember for both second shots that I'm going to tell you about, you are going over a large body of water, so you will have to adjust a little bit more. I believe it's an extra ring. Then on doing homework and trying to figure out how am I going to do the best job I could possibly do in in this tournament coming up, I came across this video by this guy, Golf Clash Tommy, and I saw him using a rock. Now, he did have to use a Power 1 ball. I believe it was a Quasar, correct me if I'm wrong. But in Rookie, if you are going to, if you do have these balls, use them, because you're going to win more balls the higher you place up. So use the rock or the quarterback. Both are fine. They both have better ball guides. They both have excellent accuracy. And go ahead and bring that big dog with you for that second shot. Definitely an albatross shot. However, if you get the eagle, anytime you could start a tournament off with an eagle, that's awesome.
Yeah, I couldn't cover it better myself, to be honest. Well explained. I would say for Pro and Expert and for Masters, of course, we're going to play from a different tee, which means that we're going to have a bigger problem to reach over to the fairway that we want to, like according to the black line. If we're having a difficult headwind, and I'm mostly talking to Masters, if you're having headwind in Masters, you're not by any means going to be able to reach over the rough there according to the black line. Then you need to play it according to the white line. And then you need to be very accurate by putting yourself as close to the rough there as possible. And if you have to play that way, then this is an eagle hole, definitely not an albatross opportunity hole. You will get the opportunity, but while having that bunker in the way according to the white line, as you can see there on front, then you're going to be having a very tough time. On Pro and Expert with headwind, you should be able to reach over according to the black line if you do have the topspin on your club for it. And of course, a Titan, Kingmaker, or even a dead ball will be required when you're playing from the second tee or from the third tee here. And bring out, as RJ said, it's like you can play it in basically 2 ways. If you do have an upgraded ball like Power 3, Power 4, as you do have on Kingmaker, Titan and Dead Ball, then you can play with a sniper for your second shot if you go according to the black line, also according to the white line. But if you're playing with a Navigator or a Quasar that do have Power 1, then you need to play with a wood club that do have some more distance, which will be the Cataclysm or the Big Dog or a maxed out Guardian. So, hole number 1, and we're going to go through to hole number 2. And hole number 2 is going to be the first of the new holes that we're going to play. And all I see is a bunch of white and blue, basically, and a tiny bit of green. So how can we manage to make this birdie in an easy way possible?
The easiest way possible for me, through practicing for the past couple days, is once again the black line. Bring your extra mile. I think you'll be fine with the marlin. You should be able to reach. I never really needed anything much more. I use some topspin, and make sure you bring your big dog. You want to bounce, I'm sorry, for your extra mile, you want to bounce on that first fairway island over the sand, and then for your second shot, the big dog will ensure that you can get on the green in 2. I say marlin, once again, I think that everyone who takes tournaments seriously, you probably shouldn't bring a basic white ball because you're going to win more balls in the tournament. So go ahead and use them and, knock down the wind so your adjustments are a little better. But notice, there are 2 areas of water there. So both of your shots, correct me if I'm wrong, Tommy, I believe you're going to have to add an extra ring for each shot, your first shot and your second shot.
Yeah, I would agree to that, absolutely. And the extra adjustment is definitely something that you need to do. While playing over water, that means that the ball will be affected more by the wind. And when it comes to the Oasis in general, that's why people are having such a big problem with it, as all of them do have a lot of water. I would say directly, I know that fairway spot in the middle of the picture that has no line with it, that is a no-go for me. Absolute no-go, because that fairway do push your ball out to the right, so it requires that you have a lot of curl combined with topspin. Sure, if we do have straight tailwind, you have a berserker and you can easily, without having to overpower a shot, get over there, maybe, but then everything needs to be 100% for that particular shot. Otherwise, I go left side, according to the black line. It's the easiest way to get to the green in 2 without having a big problem. Because the problem we have with the white line is that even though we reach kind of far with our shot, we're going to have a club with a lot of backspin. Then it's not the backspin that you do have on a sniper, it's the backspin that you do have on a guardian. So you basically have to have max backspin, and you will have to have at least side wind for your second shot to be able to reach in a good way to put yourself on the green. So left side for me, bouncing it over. Have in mind on that fairway, and that of course applies on every division, is that the second fairway spot do slope way much to the left, just by the end of the fairway. Like on the left end of the fairway, it slopes down left. So rather take a ball with a lot of with some distance combined with side spin to the right. So you can actually use that to counter for the push that you're going to get if you're having like side wind right to left. And Pro and Expert and Masters use the ball with the most distance. If having tailwind, maybe could discuss the Berserker, but otherwise Kingmaker, Titan or a dead ball. So hole number 3, par 3, and here you can see a black line and a yellow line. I'm going to take why the yellow line is there in the end, but I want to ask you, my friend, how can we make an hole-in-one on this one?
Ooh, hole-in-one. I've come close a few times, but haven't done it just quite yet. I like bringing the Saturn, and I also would say you are going to need a ball with at least a 2 side spin rating. 3 would be even better if you ask me. Again, talking to us rookies, we have lower level Saturns, so we're not going to have quite as much curl. So one thing I found that worked for me is using 1 backspin and full left spin, full left curl, aim right where that black box is, as close to the top of the green there, and also as close to the rough, and as close to the left rough as possible. But leave yourself a little bit of margin for error, and then the ball will just filter its way as close as it possibly can to the ball there. When I try doing no topspin or 1 topspin, I generally end up in the rough or up on the fringe. So that's why I'm saying the one backspin kind of ensures I stay on the green and close.
Yeah, and you covered that one perfectly. We do only have one way to play this one without putting ourselves in a very tough position. I'm going to take the yellow line, but it says don't use the yellow line. The reason the yellow line was there was before they updated the app, Playdemic and Golf Clash. They had an open shot towards the green, so you actually could use the sand by using 5 bars of topspin, using the sand, rolling up to the pin and getting very close to a hole-in-one, and many of the times getting the hole-in-one. But now when they updated the app, they put a tree in the way, so you can't play that play that way. Sure, you can curl around the tree, etc, etc, but in the end that is just going to be way more difficult than it was before. So that's why we're going to play the black line every single time. And then of course when you can take to Pro and Expert and Masters, Pro and Expert, if we start with that, we're going to have a Sniper as a wood club, we're going to have a Goliath or a Saturn as a long iron. Curl is important, and side spin on a ball is important. I hope we will get some headwinds, tailwind or side wind to the left. Side wind to the right is going to be tough. Then we need to use maximum curl, and that is going to be very hard. On Masters T, we're going to play with a Sniper. The only way we're going to be playing with a driver or another wood club is if we're going to be having a lot of headwind. And as RJ said, Quasar with the wind, with the side spin 2, or a Katana with a side spin 3 would absolutely be a good ball. Pro and Expert, Titan or Kingmaker. And when it comes to Masters, I would love to actually have a Bandera ball here. If that is not going to be enough, like with distance, then I would love to have a Kingmaker instead to just counter for that one. So, my friends, this was hole number 3, and we'll go through to hole number 4. And this is a hole that I hate that I love it, and I love that I hate it. Or like, do we say like that? I don't know. That was very weird. But how do we play hole? Yeah, how do we play hole 4, my friend?
I'm with you, man. I love to hate it, and I hate to love it. I go with I go with the black line. I go a little bit to the right of the black line because I like the way that the green, if you see the second green, kind of drips down by the bunker there. So I kind of like almost clipping over that. I use full top spin, full left spin. You can get away with, let's see, what do I have here? Yeah, Marlin is what I usually use. You can get away with a Marlin. You want to end up as close to that top island, the top of the second fairway as possible. You know, it's kind of like that rough there has a little hill, and so many people clip it and then their ball falls short and they end up in trouble. So for your second shot, I was hemming and hawing about this between Viper and Big Dog. I like to bring the Viper. If you play this shot perfectly, you can do your right rough bump with the Viper. However, if you do clip that middle rough, you're probably going to need both the curl, possibly the top spin, definitely the power of the Big Dog, because you might have to use that second island as a bouncing point. But if everything goes according to plan, you should be able to rough bump your Viper. And I love rough bumps because they get so close to the hole. One of these days, one will drop for me. I just know it.
It will. And I can just spin on that when it comes to the rough bump. Rough bump has been, in the latest tournaments, very much featured as a very good way to make something to drop. And I can just say, like, Viper, Big Dog, I would say like less distance or distance is going to be like how aggressive you're going to be playing. The key here is the driver. If you are making your drive correctly, then you can play with whatever wood club you actually have. So it's the drive that is going to be very important. I would also like consider, while playing rookie, you can play with a quarterback with a Titan as well to get that extra accuracy and ball guide, because the Titan's distance will equalize the less distance of your driver, like your quarterback. So, but for Pro and Expert, sidewind or tailwind, no problem to reach over there. Headwind is going to be very hard, and I would say like we will not be able to reach over the rough if we are having headwind. Then we need to play up short, and I would just take that with Masters as well. Like headwind in any type of form, we will not be able to reach over the rough. Then the rough bump will be dead. So if we can't reach over for the rough bump, then we need to play according to the white line. We need to put ourselves as close to the rough up to the left as possible. Then we of course need to be very, very good with our second shot. We can reach over to the green there, but headwind again, then we need to play up. So the wind is going to decide how we're going to play this hole. White line is going to be very, very hard. You need to have a lot of curl, a lot of topspin, and also side spin to be able to make the green. It is possible. I've done it myself, so it's not that it's the end of the road, but you know, it's going to be very, very tough. When it comes to the rough bump, that I forgot to add is that always use 2 bars backspin. Always. Doesn't matter what club you have, Big Dog, Viper, Sniper, Guardian. 2 bars backspin. You can play first tee, second tee, or third tee. The only way that I would add more backspin, or reduce it, if I would be having a massive headwind or a massive tailwind, then I would be having 2.5 bar backspin if massive tailwind, 2.5 bar backspin if I have massive topspin if I have headwind. So so hole number 5, come to the second par 3. This is actually, I don't know if you knew that, my friend, but this is actually the first time we play this hole in any tournament. So how do we play this one?
Well, yeah, I remember you saying that actually during the stream right before we started doing this video, and it kind of surprised me because I play this one a lot. This one for me has always been straightforward. I like the white line. I don't know if they recently changed something, but I noticed that the ball has been getting away from me and going much further past the pin. So one of the adjustments I made is going and putting my rough bump a little bit further back, and also using a little more backspin, and just ensure that you do not get stuck on the rough, because you don't want to, you know, be forced to take that shot from the rough, but at the same time you don't want to be forced to take a long putt. It's a very tactical shot. You can definitely take the black line as well. I've seen a lot of people doing that, but I still prefer personally for the white line, and I would bring something accurate. You know, if I can't remember if Rookie uses a backbone. Okay, yeah, backbone. Sorry, backbone would be perfect for this particular hole.
Yeah, and it's down to personal preference in how you want to play this hole. Absolutely, in my opinion as well. That's why you have like 3 lines. The yellow line kind of means that you're going to bounce before the rough with a couple of bars topspin to let it roll down. The problem I have with the rough bump, and the reason I don't play the rough bump anymore, if I'm having the curl on my wood club / long iron, that is because depending on the wind that we're going to have, the ball will be affected differently by the bounce. So it's very hard to find a consistent bounce for that particular shot. But I would say that for those players that are going to play the rough bump, it's definitely going to be possible to make the hole-in-one, but it's also going to be add to that you can sometimes go very short in rough, and you can also roll past basically the whole green. So you need to have that into account as well, and that is just how this hole works. That is not a glitch. That is not like something wrong with the hole. It's just how it is. So when it comes to the black line, if we take that just a little bit, when we come to playing that one from the front tee, then you need curl and you need side spin. Okay, and you play with your long iron, you need to curl it, and you need to curl it a lot. So if you can't do that, don't bother play that way. If you're not just going to be playing yourself to the green and make an easy putt for a birdie. But if you play from the second tee, you're going to play with your wood club, and then you're going to play with your wood club in minimum distance. And as for the Oasis holes, I'm going to play this one a little bit more, adding half a ring for my adjustment. Max side spin, I'm going to go with 5 bars backspin if I do have headwind, 6 bars backspin if I do have tailwind. I'm going to use a sniper, and I'm almost going to max curl it. I'm going to max curl it if I have side wind left to right. So just counter for that. Masters, we're going to play with a wood club in maximum distance. We want to have a ball that reduce the wind, which could be a bandera. If that will be in a case that we will be having to play with a driver, then we need to add a kingmaker and play with a wood club. It's better to play with a wood club than being kind of in between clubs, depending on the wind, of course, when it comes to Masters. So definitely a possible hole-in-one. And it's, as you can see again, you can play it in very different ways. So rough bump, bounce it in the rough or down, or curl it around, no, depending on how you want to play it. But in the end, it's all about secure that easy birdie. So hole number 6. Now we do have hole number 6, 7 and 8, and all of them are new holes. You haven't been playing them that much, so it's going to be very, very tricky. So we start off with hole number 6, par 5. How do we play this one?
You know, I didn't get this course as often as I would have liked to, but when I did something kind of neat. And I would take the black line, and it actually bounced on all 3 islands, which I thought was kind of a neat thing. But then I saw you playing today, and you were able to just jump right over that second island. And in doing so, you got your ball a little closer to the rough for an easier second shot on green. So I'm definitely recommending that with the full top spin with your extra mile. And I would, you know, I'd hate to say it because it's such a skinny fairway up there, but I'm thinking big dog, and I'm also thinking a power 2 ball during the tournament might be in order here. You might also want to find something. A katana might be perfect if you have them in rookie, and you should be able to get away with some backspin. I'm assuming backspin. Correct me if I'm wrong. To land on the tiny little green you see up there by the flag. It's so scary when you put topspin on the big dog, first of all, for lack of a ball guide, but also on such a small green.
Yeah, and big topper will be perfect to bounce over there. The amount of topspin is going to be needed, especially if we do have headwind. And counter that with a power ball in some way, perfect. You can do a double bounce, you can do a single bounce. It all comes down to what type of wind you have and what type of driver you have. So if you do have a driver with less amount of topspin, that maybe less than an Apocalypse, you maybe have an extra mile, level 6, level 7, and that do not have that much topspin, then you should be aiming for having that double bounce, because then you will reach further on the last fairway. Otherwise, try to bounce it over directly, and then you of course need to use a full topspin on your driver. And I would see that as an Apocalypse 5, Apocalypse 4, Apocalypse 6, 7, Extra Mile 8, or maybe a Thor's Hammer shot, in my opinion. The thing that I want just to change just a little bit by your explanation, RJ, is that we do most of the times going to have topspin on our second shot. The reason for that is that it looks like an easy shot, but the reason we're playing on the the black line is that we're going to have an open shot for the pin. We have like the bunkers on the side that we can just roll past. But even if we're having a big dog with a Titan, or having a Cataclysm with a Titan, we're still going to be needing to have at least a couple of bars topspin. Headwind, then we most of the times going to be having to have max topspin. So it's just very, very important to stay away from the bunkers, they're right or left. But otherwise than that, then you can just get the topspin to roll your ball down towards the pin. White line, I would consider that to be a line for Masters. If we do have headwind, or if we do have some side wind, then I think it would be too tricky for us to go left side, even though I would prefer to go that side. But from the 30, it's going to be tough. Then we need to, of course, reach as far as possible on the right side, and then just land it to green and focus to get that eagle, because this is going to be a hole that's going to be tough. It's new, not many players have been playing it, and many players will be dropping a shot or two on this one. We come to the last par 3. We have a couple of lines, and we have a lot of waters and a bunch of islands. So how do we play this one?
Personally, I am going very conservative on this one, and I am bringing a Viper with, and I'm taking the black line, where I'm gonna drive over that island in the middle, and I'm gonna take my first bounce on the fairway over the rough and try to land near the flag. I saw, you know, you could bring a big dog and potentially do a rough bump, but for me, the target's so big on a big dog, I don't have faith in my skills there. So I'm just recommending the black line there. One bounce, I would probably bring a power one ball as well, just to ensure that you have, you know, just what is it, like 6 extra yards or whatever it might be to be able to roll right on up to that pin. Hopefully get in, but if not, give you an easy putt.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. It's all about, like, you can go rough bump, you can bounce it over. That is all about how secure you're feeling about hitting the ball perfect. Because even if you line up your shot perfect and you hit your ball great, it's going to lose distance. And the worst thing that you want to do is to bounce yourself over the green just because you missed the rough bump. But if we take the aggressive part of it, then the rough bump is absolutely the best way to get an hole-in-one. At least in my opinion. And when it comes to pro and expert division from the second tee, and then I think the rough bump is the way to go, because you're going to be in between clubs with your wood club and your driver. If you are playing with it, then you need to reduce the wind's strength, so you can kind of be more in a better way to adjust for that particular shot. But like, again, rough bump, it is aggressive and it could potentially make a hole-in-one. But if you feel just a little bit concerned about that type of play, don't put yourself in a tricky position and play it conservative. That is something that I absolutely agree with RJ in, because we don't want to see people flying all over the place just because we're trying to hit the rough bump, because again, the target is very big on a big dog. Interesting hole 7. I really like it, and it could, like, risk and reward hole. It's going to be interesting to see the wind. Side wind, easier to hit the rough. Tailwind, headwind, harder when to adjust for. So, my friends, 2 more holes to go. We're going to keep it going. I know it's a long video, but I hope you're enjoying it so far. So, hole number 8, short par 4. I talk about this one as it would be the easiest hole in the tournament. Do you agree?
I do. Personally, I have myself taking the black line and bouncing right where that first square is and rolling up as far as possible. Let's see, what do I got here? Bring yourself a quasar. You should be fine with your extra mile. And then that'll set you up for a very easy rough bump. I just said I was afraid of the last rough bump. I am not afraid of this rough bump. I would probably bring the Saturn or the Backbone, probably the Backbone, just because it's a more accurate club, and aim. Don't forget, you're going over water, so when you make your adjustments, hit that rough bump and get yourself a eagle, possibly, if you hit that rough bump right.
Yeah, and yeah, well explained.
I'm sorry. I forgot to say, full top spin on your drive, full top spin, full left spin, and also full left curl is needed. If I just left it there, you're going to end up in the rough. And I did not want to forget that, guys. I'm looking out for you. And that's the main reason for Quasar. I want to have at least 2. Katana, in my opinion, would be even better. I'm sorry, I had a brain fart there.
Yeah, no worries. Glad you covered that one in the end. And I can just agree that the black line is going to be the easier way to play. And it's going to be possible eagle hole, absolutely. The thing that we need to have in mind from pro and expert and masters tee is that it's of course going to be trickier to hit there, to be there. And even if we find ourselves in the rough, we will be able to reach for the green in 2. No worries, because you most usually have a Nirvana level 5, level 6, level 7, level 8, and that is going to be yeah, no worries to reach for the green in 2 if you put yourself in the rough. But if you put yourself on the fairway, you do have a rough bump towards the pin. If we do have tailwind, then we can go according to the white line, and if you being able to bounce over the rough there, you're going to have a short iron towards the pin. Black line, you're going to have a long iron most of the times towards the pin. The main thing is stay away from the trees in the middle. At least don't put them in your sight. So, last but not least, we're going to play a hole 9. That even though I have drawn it in a way that you should be able to reach for the green in 2, but I will have to say that in my opinion this is in 99 out of 100 times a birdie hole. But how do we play hole number 9, my friend?
Wow, this one makes my head spin. I got to tell you that it's a scary one, and I completely agree. This is a par five birdie hole. Count yourself lucky if you get the eagle. Once again, you might as well. I'm going to change my name from It's RJTV to Take the Black Line. Uh, I like the extra mile. I also like a power three ball, guys. I would not shy away from a kingmaker here if you got it, and I would go full top spin, land your ball right where that first box is. Put some right spin and right curl, because remember, the extra mile 5 doesn't have much curl, to try to get up into that teardrop shape area up there as much as you're comfortable doing. You might not need to put such curl on with three bars of side spin. Uh, you kind of test it out, see where your ball guide is, but basically you want to set yourself up for a nice second shot. For your wood shot, I have Viper. And the reason I have a Viper is I don't want to get aggressive and try to do any guesswork jumping over the water, or, well, actually, I don't want to jump into the water. That would be the biggest fear. I would feel much better just using the Viper, put a little bit of backspin on if you can afford to put some backspin on there, have control so you don't end up in the rough or anything, and then just use your wedge over the water and hope that you're able to get your birdie there, is the way I would tackle this hole.
Yeah, and I can just spin on with that as well. It's a birdie hole, and you can see, according like with the driver adjustment, you see wood club as well, that it's not that you have a lot of fairway to work with. You have so little fairway to work with that you really need to be spot on with your adjustment for your drive, for your wood club, for your wedge / short iron to the pin. And that is not that many holes that has that. We do have par 5s that are very, very hard, but often you do have either a very open drive, so you don't have to be like 100% spot on, or that you have a wood club. That means that you don't need to be spot on with that adjustment either, and surely don't have to hit it perfect. But now we kind of need to hit it perfect. We need to play our best game on this hole to be able to manage to be close to an eagle. And I would say in many of the times we're going to play ourselves up exactly as RJ explained, and then of course we can go with more accurate clubs if we want to be aggressive and if we have tailwind. And we need tailwind. So if we have tailwind, then we can try to give ourselves that bounce over to that little fairway just on the right of the second black marker. From that position, we kind of need to go with a club that has a big amount of curl. And if we do have tailwind for our drive, that means that we're going to have sidewind for our second shot towards the pin. And then we can curl it in the wind and do like a double bounce over the bunker to the second fairway patch, and then maybe bounce it over to the fringe or to the fairway just by the green. Then we should have an eagle locked in, but as you hear, that is kind of the only way. Headwind or sidewind for your drive, no. And then yeah, you're not going to be able to do that. And I would love to see suggestions on this hole, to be honest, but in the end I've been played this hole very many times with various wind, so I say lay it up. The only thing that I want to add with lay it up is use a club with a good amount of backspin, because the pin stands short if you do approach it there over the water, so a good amount of backspin is required to be able to go for the pin. Otherwise I will just have to play it for the green and then putt it in for a birdie. Yeah, it's a lot of talk and it's a lot of ideas, suggestions, and we welcome any type of suggestion that you may have yourself that are watching this video, because you maybe find a way yourself, or maybe you have a question about the way that we did explain. So please make a comment with that in the comment section below. If you do like the video, hit the thumbs up as well, would be much appreciated. To summarize the video, at least from my end, is that we're going to see low scores. Even though we're going to have tailwind, we're going to have to focus on one thing, that is ball placement. And that means that we need to focus on where to put our drive, where to put our wood club, to be able to stay on the fairway and stay then on the green. So there is not going to be that many opportunities that even with a good amount of tailwind that's going to be able for you to go maxed blast drive down the middle to then reach for the green and maybe potentially ship it in with a rough iron or a sandwich very, very close to the green. That will not exist in this tournament. So have that in mind when you go into it. So any final words from you, RJ, before we end?
No, that last hole took me through a loop.
Yeah. It's going to be very, very tough indeed. And hole 9 is always like very, very tough. And yeah, so it's going to be interesting. But like for video guides and everything like that, check out the channel. You can see a video and hole guides, playthroughs, everything. And when it comes to the tournament week, streams will be up basically every single day for both me, RJ, and other content creators around the community. So in the end here, my friend, thanks a lot for watching. The link is in the video description down below. Yeah, let's end this one, my friend, with the one and only, like 2 words. One and only, 2 words. That's what's weird, really weird. I'm tired now. But yeah, so how do we end the stream? Let's do it!
Happy stroking!
Happy stroking, everybody.